Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Cultos Innombrables. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, where you are the Mythos cultist instead of the steadfast investigator, please check out the playlist in the description below. Before we continue, I would like to talk about this channel's sponsor, Heroes and Hardships. This is a universal RPG system, allowing you to play any sort of story, campaign, scenario. You can also create any sort of character imaginable. You have hundreds of tools to accomplish that. The Kickstarter is ongoing. I'm going to put links in the description that will take you to the Kickstarter, to the website, to the Tetsubo section of the website. Tetsubo is an upcoming setting inspired by Japan's Sengoku era. You are also going to find links to the Discord, to my reviews of the core rulebook in its early access version, my reviews of the Quickstart guide and the Wallace campaign setting, based on the life and exploits of William Wallace, so please check it out. Now let's continue. This time I am going to talk about Sanity as handled in Cultos Innombrables. Although you are playing as characters that have close contact with the different Mythos entities, they can still fall into insanity. They are a bit sturdier when compared to more normal investigators in other role-playing games. They regenerate or recover from their sanity damage, the damage that they take, but they can still end up insane. If they fall into insanity, into total insanity, some of them are lost forever, but others could recover through adequate treatment. Now, Sanity is handled similarly to the wounds and health system that I talked about in the previous video. You can apply most of what I said in that video to this Sanity system. But when it comes to differences, there are two main attributes related to Sanity. You have entereza and estabilidad mental. Entereza could be translated as integrity or wholeness. I talked about entereza in a previous part. I don't remember if I translated it to wholeness or integrity, but let's call it integrity for this specific part. Integrity is your measure, your capacity of withstanding or resisting maddening or disturbing events. And mental stability could be considered the hit points when it comes to sanity. So you're going to be resisting things through integrity, and you're going to take damage to your mental stability. As you take damage, as you are exposed to terror, you will start to fall into insanity. This involves a gradual penalization of your rolls, different tests related to defense and checks. So the more unhinged that you become, the greater the penalty. While you are filling up the section in your character sheet related to mental stability, you will end up falling into an altered state or alterado. You could fall into disturbed or trastornado until you reach insane or maddened, which is enloquecido. So it's all about that. You can recover from the damage that you take by resting, that is, spending a single night just sleeping or reading in a comfortable chair, whatever your character does to recover from that psychological damage. But if you let things without treating yourself, then you will fall into these states of increasing madness that will apply penalties to your checks and your defense. You can use some substances, some drugs and some narcotics to keep you somewhat sane during the more stressful times, but they have side effects, of course. So if you decide to take any of these substances, you will negate the penalties imposed by your current state in sanity. But you're going to get some aspects or tags as they are handled in this role-playing game that will allow the game master to present some challenges later on. So for example, maybe you are quite nervous because you are facing off against this entity from beyond time and space, so you decide to drink alcohol. In that moment, you're going to be safe from the effects of the increasing insanity. But later on, perhaps you now have the aspect of being irritable or slow, stupid, because the alcohol is having an effect on your mind. So later on, the game master will be able to apply those aspects in different checks and challenges, all sorts of tasks that you carry out later on. The important thing to keep in mind is that you have these three thresholds of altered or alterado, disturbed or trastornado, and enloquecido or insane or maddened. As long as you suffer damage within the altered threshold, then you can recover this by resting. If you reach trastornado or disturbed, then it's when you develop phobias, obsession, manias, addictions, night terrors, and these mental problems will not go away with simple rest. You will have to make some checks. And if you take mental damage within the insane threshold, then those mental problems will remain with your character for the rest of his or her life. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about the evolution of your character, we are going to talk about equipment, and I'm also going to talk about the short story included in the end of this section, which is called Del Viento, or Of the Wind. When it comes to sanity in this role-playing game, because you are playing as Mythos cultists, you are definitely sturdier than your average investigator. It is very rare when the character is lost because of insanity. It could happen, but most of the time, when in other Mythos-based role-playing games, the character is completely lost to insanity and becomes a non-player character, or a character to be used by the game master or referee for purposes of the story, or is completely lost altogether. In this game of Cultos Innombrables, the cultist will be able to be handled as a typical player character, but with that lingering insanity. That's how cultists end up the way they are. So the player will be able to control his or her player character, but you will have to roleplay the mental problems that have been developed throughout the course of your career, and the game master will take advantage of those mental issues at the most inopportune times, surely. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.